It's time for Baseball's Last Frontier, stories from the Pecos League, the podcast that will open your door to baseball's entry level, telling you the stories of the teams, players, and coaches of an independent minor league circuit. I'm your host, Bruce McClure, and I have the pleasure of introducing to you my friend, partner, and co-host, and man on the inside, Evan Katz. Evan, how are we doing this week?
Good. Where am I, Bruce?
I don't know.
I
don't
think
know.
I woke up this morning, looked out my window, I saw Fisher Mountain, and we're here in Trinidad, Colorado, elevation 6,050 feet. We've been playing the Trinidad Triggers. We're on the fourth city of our 10-day road trip. I have to tell you, being a retired finance guy, I felt bad when I told you last week it was a 5-state road trip. It's actually a 7-state road trip. My Midwest geography is not good. I didn't realize that as we traveled from Kansas to New Mexico, we were going to slice through the Oklahoma Panhandle, and there was a point in Texas in the extreme northwest corner on the New Mexico border called Tex Line, Texas. We drove right through on the way. So it's a 7-state, 2,100-mile, 4-city, 10-game road trip.
All right, so I'm just going to ask you now, you have GPS in your car, right?
Oh my goodness, we have dueling GPSs in our car to make sure we don't go off road. We actually made a good strategic decision. At one point, GPS was going to send us down an unpaved road. And we went 5 miles out of the way because the last place you want to be in the desert Southwest with a broken down car is an unpaved road.
Okay, hang on. You're talking about unpaved roads out there. I live in New Hampshire. There's plenty of unpaved roads up here, and GPS sends me right down them half the time. It's like, what?
Right. Well,
especially Vermont. If I'm doing a job in Vermont and I'm going to what appears to be somebody's big home up on a hill somewhere, 9 times out of 10 they take me on an unpaved road with divots and ruts. And I eventually get up to the top of the hill and I'm bouncing up and down as I get out of the car, for heaven's sake.
Well, actually, manager Todd Everleth and I talked about that, and I actually remarked to him. He's from Plattsburgh, New York, and has spent a lot of time as a contractor and DJ in his previous life in Burlington, in Vermont. And so we all knew, both of us knew, the perils of unpaved dirt roads that are regular traveled ways.
I can only imagine. So what's this I hear about your team as a no-fly zone? Does that mean that nothing flies over your ballparks before the game?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we have christened our outfield the no-fly zone. We have outfielders who can fly. We have it's anchored by Rico Riley, who went to Florida Southern, played with the 80s last year in center field. He gets everything. Made a fantastic catch in Garden City this week. We've got Caleb Copeland in left field, very acrobatic, incredible spatial awareness. He has made a lot of really good catches, and he's also made a lot of difficult catches look easy because he's so aware of where he is and how to get his body in the right position to get his glove on the ball. And in right field, TJ Beninati has been getting most of the time out there. He is he's got a motor. He's got a high gear motor. As soon as that ball is hit, the kid is flying. So when there's a fly ball to the outfield, the sound in the dugout is no fly zone. We're going to track that ball down.
I like it. I like it. You guys have been on your epic 2,200-mile road trip, and we left off last week and I think it was game 3 in Kansas City, Iola, right?
That's right. Yes. But before we go to Kansas City, just want to do a little trivia footnote.
Oh, yeah.
We traveled through New Mexico. We went over the Pecos River.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
And we're in the 15th year of the Pecos League, and it's really gone through a major evolution. But when it was originally founded back in 2011, the Pecos River Valley, which runs from northern New Mexico down through Texas, the original franchises were located in the Pecos River Valley in the first couple of years. So cities that some listeners might know: White Sands, Roswell still has a team, Las Cruces, Santa Fe, which still has a team, Taos had a team, Ruidoso had a team, Raton, which is slightly south of Trinidad, had a team, and then Alpine, Texas, and Trinidad. So it was a little bit of a flashback, knowing the Pecos League history, that we were driving through the Pecos River Valley, where the Pecos League was founded 15 years ago.
Nice. That's very, there's been a lot of shifting in the league, but it seems to me that over the past few years, you've seen a lot more stability.
Absolutely. And then, the Pacific League grew with the demise of the Pacific
Mhm.
Association, which was located in the San Francisco Bay, and we're now up to 17 teams.
Right. All right. So let's talk about game 3 with KC and Iola.
Right. Well, this is the two city franchise. We
Right.
drove to Iola, Kansas, and then drove 100 miles to Kansas City to play Satchel Paige Field. We mentioned it last week. Trevor Nelson, one of our lower velo, high uh, pitch repertoire, threw strikes, left with the 2-1 lead in that game. A 3-run homer by Rico Riley iced it. We won that game 7-5.
Nice. So then you jumped back in the car. You got back on the road. You fired up the GPS again, and off you went to Garden City for a couple of games, right?
Back to Garden City. We have played them really hard. And again,
Yeah.
we did. We had in game one, the lead changed or was tied 9 times. Unfortunately, it was a 10-9 walk-off loss. In the ninth, second time they've done that to us. Again, there were some good takeaways. We were down by 3 runs in the top of the ninth. We got a run on the balk. TJ Beninati had an RBI single. And then Todd called for a double steal. We had runners at second and third. And they tried it once, and Luke Harris, the runner at first base, got back to the bag. The second time it worked. We tied the game by stealing home with a first and third, but unfortunately we couldn't hold it in the bottom of the ninth.
And you went on to game 2 for you lost game 2, didn't you?
Yes, game two, Ben Smith started. He pitched really well in his earlier starts. We had 3 errors, and unfortunately, Garden City built the lead, and we fell behind and lost 7-2.
Okay, so we get back in the car, we fire up the GPS again, and off we go this time to Santa Fe. Now you know the way to Santa Fe and had
Absolutely.
3 games out there, right?
Right. And so, but
Yeah.
here's where SABR and the Pecos League intersect.
We had
We
some
go up to,
pictures. You got me some pictures, so talk to me about this. This was a great little story.
yes, Bruce, as an incoming director of SABR, you should make a note of this. We go onto the field, we go onto the field, and SABR member Mike Ehrenstein, who's originally from the Bronx and it was very involved in baseball cards and was the Burdick Award
That's
winner
right.
in 2020, the first one. I think it's for baseball cards. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct. Yes. Yep.
And he took photos of all the players and the next day gave them baseball card postcards as keepsakes. It was a real treat for the players. It was a lot of fun handing them out. I opened up the doors to the 80s media department and distributed the postcards before the games, and it really brought smiles to the players' faces.
That's really nice. As Evan just said, yes, I am an incoming director with the Society for American Baseball Research. And Mike is one of the what I call bright lights in SABR. He has done so much in and for our game that all of us as baseball fans should be eternally grateful for Mike and what he's done. He is indeed a Burdick Award winner and one of the most fabulous SABR members in the country today. But what went on at Santa Fe, my guy?
Well, Santa Fe, you might recall, Mile High Field,
Yeah,
250 feet down the right field line, 300 feet to center field. The outfielders are playing with their backs to the wall. Starter Pierce Salvago held them to 7 runs in 5 innings, which is a credible start in a ballpark. And this is the honest to goodness truth where teams can score 20 to 30 runs in a game. We got 13 hits, but could only score 6 runs and fell to 500. It was nice to see Jake Boucher and Kobe Tweeten hit home runs, but it just wasn't enough that day.
so game 2, Nestor came out, right?
Mike Nestor from Medford, Mass, we'd worked him out of the bullpen, and manager Todd Everleth decided the guy's been a starter. Let's give him a start. He came out and held Santa Fe to one run in his innings. We had home runs by Jake Boucher, Caleb Copeland, and Rico Riley. It was the 87th win on June 14th. Last year, the 80s did not win their seventh game until July 9th. So it was a real nice tribute to the team that we've put together. And Mike Nestor pitched a great game, and it was really a nice feeling to have as we went on the road and shifted gears to arrive in Trinidad.
And here we are. You've had 2 games in Trinidad.
Yeah, game one came out strong. We had 6-1 and 8-4. We got the hits that we needed. Renee Colon held the Triggers to 1 run in 5 innings. The bottom of the 8th, we had a new pitcher come in, Eddie Cafton, his first appearance. Was throwing strikes, but the Triggers are very aggressive, and unfortunately, we lost that game 9-8 with their 8th inning rally.
And Trevor Nelson held the Triggers back a bit in game 2, but they still whacked the ball around a bit, right?
Yeah, they've got a turf field. I mean, they know how to, and it's a little firm in front of the plate, and they either get base hits through the hole or high choppers that on the turf field somehow get to the outfield. Trevor held them down through the 4th inning. We have still have one of the top pitching staffs in the league. We're scoring runs, but not quite enough. We lost that game, and unfortunately, we slipped to 7-8 and right now. And I think right now the goal is to keep the very effective pitching going. Both starters and the relievers have been doing well for the most part, but we're just not scoring quite enough runs at quite the right time. And we're now 7-8.
Still ahead of last year, though.
Absolutely. No, there's a good feeling. We've got good talent on this team. We're going to be coming home, and we'll talk about that after we have our interview with our guest. But our feeling going home is going to be the right recipe to help us get going again.
Well, that's a good segue. You've got another great interview for us today, so I'm just going to sit back and let you introduce this because I think the fans out there are going to be real interested to hear this one. So go ahead.
Well, as you know, Bruce, a lot of our conversations talk about what's happening on the field, and I think it's important for people to understand what takes place behind the scenes to allow the games to take place. And I was fortunate enough to be able to contact Kim Schultz, the founding general manager of the Trinidad Triggers, going back to the beginning of the Pecos League. She was executive of the year in 2013 for the Pecos League, has really helped make the Triggers one of the most stable and competitive franchises. She was even able to get the city of Trinidad to put $2 million of improvements to the field. I think it's got to be one of the best fields in the league for both fans and the players. And she's going to talk about the history of the Triggers and how the team has been built up, how she works behind the scenes to make things comfortable for the fans and for the players.
All right, so we're going to run that interview for you. Easy for me to say now, isn't it? And then we're going to catch everybody back on the flip side. So we'll see you in just a few minutes.
We're here in Trinidad, Colorado, the home of the Trinidad Triggers, who play at Central Park. It's a beautiful stadium here in Trinidad with an altitude of over 6,000 feet. We've got the pleasure of being with Kim Schultz, the general manager of the Trinidad Triggers, who's been here since their founding 15 years ago. Good morning, Kim.
Hi, good morning, Evan.
Thank
you for having me.
Absolutely. It's good to have you here. You know, on the podcast, a lot of times we focus on what goes on the field. And coming here into Trinidad from Santa Fe, I thought it would be great to talk to someone who really works behind the scenes, someone who makes it possible for a baseball game to go on every night, knows how to handle the ups and downs of the Pecos League. So, Kim, maybe you can take us back to 15 or 14 years ago in 2012 when the Triggers started and give us an idea of what it was like back then, it's early years of the Pecos League.
Well, gosh, it's been so long ago. When I first met Andrew Dunn, I was the the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, and I had been for 10 years here. And, just trying to make things happen, quite frankly. Andrew showed up in town and initially was trying to sell me some games at the park. And it turned into, let me bring you a team. I had a city manager that was from back east at the time, and he was very aware of how well, professional baseball at this level would be good for the community. And so he signed off on it at Central Park. At the time, Central Park was used only by Trinidad State Junior College and the local high school teams. So we showed up on the scene and started playing every summer. And I'm sorry, my phone, let me put it on focus here. It just keeps ringing off the hook.
That's okay.
And so at the time we opened up our first game with Santa Fe, New Mexico, with Santa Fe Fuego. It was their first game as well. And, had about 500 people at our game. And we've, been going ever since. Started doing the fireworks in 2015 for the 4th of July. And that became a very big day, for us, obviously, and the city. So things changed over the years. The field at the time was, a beautiful place, but my saying was, well, we don't have any Wi-Fi, running water, or electricity, but we seem to get it. We did have overhead lights, and so that was the kicker, really, that gave us the ability to play at historic Central Park.
Well, it looks, having been there yesterday and imagining what it looked like when you were there 15 years ago, and I know there was a renovation a couple of years ago, there's really been an effort to make it one of the real prime attractions in the community, it looks like. There's got great facilities, it's got a great sound system, there's a great selection of food, and last night, I think because of all the lightning and the storm, we didn't get a big crowd. But normally, you get pretty good crowds.
Well, we do. Our community is less than 8,000 people. But we do serve a decent region. Raton has 8,000, and so when you put the radius to it, we've got probably about 50,000 people in a radius of 100 miles. And, we have a good following from people all over the country. We initially in 2013, we shot a docudrama called Pecos Life, or Pecos League, Life's a Pitch. And that aired in 2014 with the launch of Fox Sports 1 during the World Series that year. And so we achieved the ability to be kind of a, in the minor league world, a household name. And so we've got people that come from all over the country, and we also have people that watch our broadcasts from all over the country too. Honestly, I usually have about 30 to 32 games scheduled at the park every year. And I wish I could say my attendance was higher than it is, but it's somewhat diluted over the course of 30 games. And we'll see on an average night 150 to 175 people. That's on average. 4th of July, I'll see close to 1,300 people in one fell swoop. And so we do what we can to get people to the park. Trinidad's kind of spoiled. Really, we've got a fantastic baseball team, and they can come and pop in whenever they feel like it.
Can you talk a little bit about your outreach? It's one of the things that you have to keep reminding people. There's so much competition for the entertainment dollar. You have a decent sized market, but it's spread out. How do you do your marketing and promotions in social media to remind people that you have professional baseball team and a competitive team here, and a really fun night out that people can have if they want to? How do you do it?
Well, did you notice yesterday I turned on the lights at about 3:30?
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. That's a bit like it's like a beacon, like a lighthouse.
Well, it is, Evan, and so that's really boots on the ground. guerrilla marketing of sorts. You can see the lights from the interstate. And so a lot of times I do that because people know we have a game when the lights are on. Otherwise, it's any way we can. And if it's free, it's for me, baby. I'll tell you what, because, social media coming on strong over the last 15 years with us has been a major player in promoting the team, as well as, just being a household name, making sure that people have schedules and that we're discussing, talking to people, inviting people, and getting the kids down to camp every Monday morning and Tuesday morning. And so
that's camp. That's camp with the players, right? That's where youth come out for baseball lessons.
Yes, it is. It sure is. And I just spoke to a parent that was down there, and she was just saying what a value it was for her kids, and the boys were so courteous, and they're just so thankful to have the opportunity. Because it's small town living, and in any other environment, if we hadn't have worked as hard as we have to keep the team in Trinidad, they wouldn't really have that opportunity.
So one of the things that I think is pretty clear is that the Pecos League is a low budget league. You don't have a lot of money to work with. I mean, what are the social media platforms that you do? And in a low budget environment where you don't have a lot to spend, you're not talking about attracting thousands of people or even many hundreds of people a night. How do you operate in a low budget environment to encourage people to come to the park?
Well, it all snaps back to our businesses. Primarily, our signature sponsor, Phil Long Toyota Trinidad, and Toyota Corporation. If it wasn't for businesses like Toyota Corporation and Phil Long, dealerships that contributed tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years, it would be impossible to fund the team. So, and then it goes down from there. And the city of Trinidad obviously is a huge contributor. And if you'll notice on our schedule, I don't know if you've seen it on any of our collateral, but we have over 60 sponsors. And, whether it's the Hilton Garden Inn that's providing hotel rooms for umpires, or the La Quinta that's providing hotels for umpires, which can be very expensive, or the Super 8 that's helping us out with a lower rate to provide hotel rooms, restaurants like Gallardi's 489 that sponsors the baseball camp. And Coach Gallardi was the most winningest football coach in college history, and he was from Trinidad. So, there's a lot of steep history with, for instance, student athlete was coined at Trinidad State College. So, sports in this area is really important and serious. And so when Trinidad Triggers came to town, at first it was one of those things, we won't last a year, we won't last 3 months, we won't last 3 years. And here we are going into our 15th year. Couldn't do it without the businesses.
Well, it's you wouldn't have been recognized for Pecos League Executive of the Year in 2013 if you weren't doing something right.
Well, and everybody just was real happy that I received that award, and so no one got one again for about 10 more years after that, just because it sparked such a controversy. And I try to do the best I can every year. It's not easy.
So yeah. It sounds like, sorry for interrupting, Kim. What caught my attention earlier is you talked about 60 sponsors. So it sounds to me like you like to have it's obviously the dollars are important, but the broad base sounds even more important.
Well, it is, because that's how we reach everybody. For instance, if I didn't have KCRT radio consistently promoting us on a big scale regionally, it would be hard to get done. Prospect Plaza Laundry, for instance, they came on board. The owner loves the team, loves the fact that it's here, and she started doing all of the boys' uniform laundry.
Oh boy, the
Now
players must love that.
well, they do, and talk about a relief, initially on the host families. I mean, all in an effort to make things better for everybody, whereas the boys were shiny and bright, as well as taking off the load of doing laundry at the host family or on the road or, whatever that entailed. And so, I'm always looking for the opportunity to make things easier, cheaper, smaller, as far as our footprint.
So
go ahead.
if I recall, there was part of the improvements in the stadium. There was a major renovation fairly recently, correct?
To the tune of over $2 million.
Now, so how did that, was that city funded?
Yes, actually, it was entirely city funded via, the marijuana tax that was collected.
Okay.
Starting back in 2014. Trinidad dropped the moratorium for marijuana or cannabis sales, medical and recreational.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an initiative shortly thereafter through city council where they voted to, upgrade the park. And that was before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And the work did not start until after the pandemic. And so what they initially voted on and what it actually cost, there was a variance there for sure.
Yeah.
But they stood with it and they got it done, and everything down to new LED lights, and stadium seating and the infield and a brand new bathroom and again electricity and different things that really took us to the next level. And I'll tell you, Evan, you had mentioned something about my LinkedIn account. Organically, when this construction was occurring, my LinkedIn account went off the charts without even putting anything out there initially about the park. Every major league club, every minor league club, universities, international, you name it, we're taking a look at Trinidad vis-a-vis my account because of this investment that was being made from the city of Trinidad. Really showed that, we have skin in the game.
See, yeah, LinkedIn is I think a secret weapon. I've actually recruited players through LinkedIn, and they've done well. How hard was it to convince the city to put $2 million into the stadium? And you'd been here at that point a little less than 10 years, but you've had a competitive team, and it sounds like you were pretty stable. But to get a government to put sports stadium subsidies are obviously at the mega dollar level are very controversial. But I think in a small town, a decision to spend $2 million on a stadium, obviously I think you said it's shared, but how difficult was it to get that vote through the council to get the funding for the changes that you needed?
Well, in retrospect, every year I would go to council and thank the council and thank the city for their involvement and their investment. But on the other side of that, I was also showing them pictures of crumbling stairs and non-ADA compliant, things. And they knew, the changes had to happen, and that, we had to upgrade the facility to get it where it needed to be. And so the biggest push came from the actual fans that sat on the council themselves.
So there were councilors who had gone to games.
Yes, everybody wanted it to be better. Everybody saw the value, and I just wanted to be in a position to tell people, come to the park. It's paved now. I can get you in the door. We've got stairwells and bathrooms that are ADA, and just made it safe and secure and easier for our community to come out and enjoy. And I'm faced with 3 back surgeries. I've been on my feet for so many years that I had to slow down a little bit, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to not have to walk completely across the park for the restroom facilities, because we have some, right there by the locker room. And, the city really took a look at everything and upgraded it without leveling it, Evan. My biggest concern was that with an ADA compliant facility, that they were going to have to level it and start again. And I had no idea what that was going to look like. And, our grandstands and everything, were just amazing. And the view of Fisher's Peak every day, of which is the newest Colorado State Park as well.
How many pictures? I think I took 5 pictures of Fisher's Peak last night, right down the right field line as the light changes and the Thunderheads were over it. And I sent it home already while we were waiting for the lightning strikes to subside before the game started.
Well, I guarantee you'll do the same thing tonight.
So the renovations
changes every day. The aesthetic is just phenomenal.
So we're with Kim Schultz, General Manager of the Trinidad Triggers of the Pecos League. So Kim, I want to slide a little bit to baseball. I couldn't help to see, looking at the baseball facilities, it looks like you made some improvements for the clubhouse for the players, and it looks like you have an indoor facility over there. How did the renovations help the on-field product for Trinidad?
Well, it certainly made us more competitive to the extent that, we have some of the nicest facilities in the entire league makeup. Like Andrew told me, he said, Kim, you've gone from number 12 to number 4, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, he's got his own internal rating systems for a lot of things.
Well, and it just, it's not easy running a small club in a small town, okay? And to have our facilities go from number 12 to number, 4 or 3 or whatever you want to call it, in the midst of 16 other clubs, is huge. And that aspect is important to a lot of the players. Now, look, we've always had a locker room and we've always had a batting cage. What I didn't have was a bathroom right next door. I had to get porta-johns. I didn't have running water downstairs. When the pandemic swung around, I'd already had a flu pandemic when I, first started the team. I knew what that looked like. I was the first one to shut down. The writing was on the wall for me in March, and so, and the facilities helped, recruiting, I'll be honest. And every little thing that we can bring to the table to bring good talent is, definitely, what we do. And so I was thankful for that. And I was thankful for our community to have somewhere to be proud of and somewhere for our kids to play, for our junior college to play. And of course, to be able to show off Trinidad, because we push out a Meredith stream every night. And now we have a couple of different camera angles, and it's absolutely that center field camera view. And with that new wall backstop, to me, it feels like I'm looking at, a major league park when I see that. And when you swing around and you have a picture of our Fisher's Peak and the community and the park, and, Central Park is the historic Central Park. We've been playing baseball in that park since the 1900s. And I've got an amazing photo that shows, a professional game back in 1909. Here in the park, and everybody's dressed up, and they have their hats on and their bonnets, and all the women are on the covered part of the grandstands, and then the rest are just men lined up all the way behind where the locker room is. Just
you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
And so, back to the coal mine camp teams back in the 1900s, and the CF&I steel mill. There's a deep history for baseball here, and they've been playing it at Central Park ever since the 1900s, and it's absolutely phenomenal to be part of that. And I'll send you a picture.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be great.
It'll blow your mind. Yeah, it'll really blow your mind.
So speaking about players in a century of baseball at Central Park, I know one of the things you mentioned on the Triggers website, I think you used the figure of about 300 players have advanced to higher levels. And are there any particular stories that you remember that you or your managers that you've hired are particularly proud of, players that have come through here, maybe that were unexpectedly achieved to a higher level, or guys who were very talented? Because 300 players over 15 years, that's very impressive.
Well, we've had 300. If you calculate it with approximately 30 players a year, 35 for the last, well, we're 14 years now. Do the math. We're over 400 players, and the Triggers have promoted more players to Major League than any team in the entire Pecos League, and that's recorded on the website. Those numbers, I think we're at like 11 for the majors everywhere from. I remember, so my first year, baseball chose me, Evan. I didn't choose baseball. And so I still carry my dummies book around.
Thank goodness for Google now. You don't even need to carry your book. You can just Google your question.
Well, that's it. Yeah, and I use a lot of AI too. I try to act like I'm really smart. But my first year, I was in the concession stand, and things have always been pretty basic. In order to, print copies of rosters every day and things of that nature became pretty rigorous. But I want to say it was the last day of the season, and I'm working the concession stand, and a man comes up, and I'm looking down at my computer because he says, I need a roster, and I start to show it to him and where to find it on his phone. As I glance up, I see the logo on his shirt, and it says Phillies. And I realized that he was a scout. And sure enough, and I said, well, let me get you one. I'll get you printed one. I'll take care of you right away. And I did, and he actually picked up a rookie pitcher that day. And he, that guy goes down in history. I'd have to look at the list. The name escapes me right now, just because I'm still getting going today. But that was just a prime example. There was an article written the other day about the league in 15 years, and it was mentioned Johnny Bladell was, one of our most successful, position players that actually went up in the Boston Red Sox system. And it goes on from there. The Padres, the Brewers, the Phillies, like I said, and on and on and on. And I'd have to pull up the list, but we've had several guys go up at that level. Most recently, Aleman Cruz from last year's team was recruited into the Detroit Tigers system, and another kiddo that we had last year went into the Mets. And these two particular guys are international guys. Had to start looking for talent elsewhere because, Evan, I couldn't find pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And I used my LinkedIn and just did a plea to the baseball world, because I realized I had, over 1,500 followers on that site that were just in the baseball profession.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of blew my mind because I had just been collecting people for years. And when I had to get out there and start recruiting myself, I turned to my LinkedIn and ultimately met people all over the world, from Europe to Colombia, Mexico, the Dominican, everywhere in between, and started bringing in players from those countries, primarily pitchers, because I couldn't get them anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
To the extent that I needed them. This year, I'm still in a position where I'm short, and I've got about 10 pitchers. I could use 4 more. Last year, my pitching staff was 17 deep because the Tijuana Toros sent me 10 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
that's the connection the league has with the professional league in Mexico, correct?
Yes, that is correct, Evan. The whole initiative to work with Liga de Mexico came through the Trinidad Triggers.
Oh.
They wanted to work with me. I had a Venezuelan pitcher back in, I guess 19 or so, that I sent to the Mexican League before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And he did very well, to the extent, the guys called and said, "Oh, we love him. Next time you guys are here, we'll buy you a steak." Andrew. And at the time, I couldn't even get Andrew to go into Mexico, and he actually did last year and made a lot of great connections. But, with other independent leagues coming on board, especially, the Pioneer League, Frontier League, et cetera, it's been very competitive. And, when you've got a 16-team league, you're competing with each other for, talent, as you well know. And so in order to get a leg up in a small community, I'm not the Alpines of the world, the Tucsons of the world, or whatever that looks like. I had to look at all different alternatives for talent.
Right. And the Alpine Cowboys and Tucson Toros, they're always working hard to attract players, and the smaller teams in the league have a struggle. I want to mention, you alluded a minute ago to the story that was published recently on Fansided. That's got a 15-year look back at the Pecos League, looking at the league from many angles. If listeners haven't seen or read that article, it's on Fansided. So Kim, in our last couple of minutes here, you've really covered a lot of territory. Could you just reflect on, you've talked about some of your achievements. If there's any that we haven't mentioned, maybe you could mention one or two, but also some of the lessons that you've learned over the years that's helped make Trinidad a top destination for players and for fans.
Well, being consistent every year, Evan, is really, as a business person, that's where it starts. Consistency, bringing in good talent. My players have to engage with our public. They have no choice. If they do not want to get up in the stands and help run a game, a fan game or whatever it looks like, they just can't be part of the team. I released a kid this summer, or, first part of the season, who, wouldn't step in line, as they say, to, engage with our community. And so I don't care how good you are, if you can't participate at that level, you can't be part of my team. And, we've stayed with that motto, that mantra, whereas, we participate, we give back. Honestly, I feel very honored to have had the opportunity to be a baseball professional. I absolutely adore Andrew Dunn. He and I, sometimes I call him, he's my work husband, because he and I have been together for so many years. I mean, we've raised a lot of families, Evan, and quite frankly, every baseball team is a family,
right?
And not everything's perfect,
right?
And I've had turnover. I've had to turn the pond over. I mean, I've learned a lot of lessons, and I learn them every day. Baseball is ever changing. I don't care, how many events you've done or how many games you've played. There's always a variable that will sneak up on you that you're, not prepared for. So being prepared, trying to take good care of the boys, being honest with what our resources can provide. We've tried multiple scenarios this year. We've embarked on, our living facility with Fort Wooten and working with the veterans community here in Trinidad. And it's not perfect, not yet, but it will be. And so being willing to try different things to make it better every year is what I think I try to bring to the table. Not always successful, but to the best of our ability it is. And we will continue to try to make things better, because the bottom line is sustainment. And you've seen it across the country. I don't care how big the club is or how small. Sustainment is always, hanging out there. And in order to do that, you have to be creative. And so I'll continue to be creative to keep this team here for this community, to play games in that brand new, beautiful park that we have, and continue the the success story that the Triggers have had.
Well, that's great. We're wrapping up our interview today with Kim Schultz, General Manager of the Trinidad Triggers, one of the longtime successful franchises in the Pecos League. Kim, thanks so much for your behind-the-scenes insights, and I'm looking forward to being back on the field in Central Park tonight as we face the Triggers for tonight and then again tomorrow. Thank you again for your time, Kim.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you, Evan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're back. You are listening to Baseball's Last Frontier, stories from the Pecos League. I'm Bruce McClure, hosting from New London, New Hampshire, where, believe it or not, it's raining again. I'm here with Evan Katz, North Platte 80s bullpen coach. And Evan, if my math is correct, you have a little over 400 miles to go before you get home, right?
That's right. We're in the last, what is that, 20% of our road trip. It's the driving is pretty easy. It's long, but it's pretty relaxing, except we get on very narrow two-lane roads. But we're very excited tomorrow morning to be heading back to North Platte after this long road trip.
Before I forget, Kim Schultz, she's fantastic. We really appreciate her doing that interview with us. And we hope you got a lot of great information on what goes on outside of what you see when you go to a ball game, because there's so much the average fan doesn't see.
It was really, really interesting to hear from her. I mean, I had a feel from my time spent in North Platte so far this year, but Kim has been doing it for so many years, and she has so many connections. It's almost sounds like an art form, the work that she has to do and make everything come together so that the team can be competitive and fans come to the games to support the Triggers.
It really is an art form to get a baseball game off the ground, for lack of better. When I was in minor league ball years ago, just watching the parts mesh and all, there are days still, I don't know how we did it half the time. It's an amazing thing.
Yep. Somehow, some way, things are
That's
ready
right.
for the first pitch.
That's right. Now you're in Trinidad for one more tonight, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So you got one more in Trinidad tonight. Let's talk about what's going on over the next few days, because you're going to get back in the car after the game. Are you staying over, or are you going to take off right after the game?
It's just too far to go. We'll get up early. We'll probably be on the road by 8 or 8:30 Mountain Time tomorrow. We're going to lose an hour on the trip back going to Central Time, but we'll be on the road probably by 8 or 8:30.
Long and straight back home. And you have a fundraiser, I believe it's Wednesday night.
Right, tomorrow night, guys that get back probably run to the laundry room, get their gear in there. We have a fundraiser at the Nebraska Athletic Club. This is the owner of the athletic club who opens his doors to the players for free for the summer. It's in conjunction with a realty firm, Gateway Realty. There's going to be music and food and a way to meet the players. And I think a portion of the proceeds go to the players. Remember, these players do not get paid directly by the team. The money the players are paid is raised through fundraising, baseball camps, passing the hat if someone hits a home run or strikes out the side. So these fundraiser events are a great way to connect with the community and also to raise money to help the players have some money to pay for gas and food when we're at home and on the road.
The time-honored tradition in minor league ball of passing the hat. They still do it in the Cape Cod League.
Yeah, it's fun. It's folksy, but it's a way for the players to connect with the fans and the fans to show their appreciation
Yeah.
for the hard work the players are doing and recognize some of their achievements. We also do raffle off broken bats too.
I love it. I love it. All right, so you've got the fundraiser this week. You've got a youth baseball camp on Friday. You've got a doubleheader on Friday as well. Take me through the rest of the week.
Yeah, so the baseball camp, we had one before we left. We had 40 kids from probably 5 and 6 years old to 14 or 15. We had 40 kids last year. The 80s had 40 kids for 3 camps. So we are expecting more than 40 this Friday. And so we're really excited about that. And then when the kids are there on Friday, we can let them know on Friday night, we have a doubleheader at 5:30 against Kansas City Iola. So that's going to be a long day, but it's going to be a good way to get back to our routine. And we're hoping for a couple of wins on Friday night to get us back going in the right direction.
I never asked. Are doubleheaders 7 innings or 9 innings in this league?
Yep. Still 7. Yep. The
They're
minor
7.
league tradition, 7-inning doubleheaders.
Okay. So you've got the doubleheader against KC on Friday, and then 4 games against Garden City, and they're 14-2, right?
Oh yeah, this is going to be
Oof.
we've only won 1 game against them. I think we played 5, but they've walked us off twice. So we feel we're competitive with them, and it'd be nice to have a couple of wins against Kansas City to go into those 4 games against Garden City. It's going to be a good ball games to watch, and I think we've got a shot to push Garden City pretty hard.
14-2. They're world beaters in this league right now. That's a start, man. That's a start.
Well, they have a very competitive team. Their manager, Easton Barnes, is very good at recruiting. They have very, very good support from the community. They get several hundred people per game. They have a good field, and that helps attract players. And as I say in North Platte, we think we have a good field. We have a good community. We have a good set of managers and coaches. And I like to say, when you have a good environment for players on and off the field, it helps recruit and it helps bring out the best in your players.
How long are you home for?
Those are the 6 games. Then we're back on the road, but our road trips are much shorter after that.
It'll go easy on the cars.
Yes, it's good. This has been epic. This has been epic.
Right?
2,100 miles over. It's actually, here's the other thing. I said 10 days. It's actually 11 days because of Wednesday being a travel day. So
I don't know how you did it. I'm impressed.
Well, I got to give credit to Todd. Todd Everleth. He manages the team. He's also got his reliable truck, and we sit and talk baseball. We put on deep tracks from Sirius XM. He's a former radio DJ. So if there's some obscure band or some obscure song, I can say, Todd, do you know that band? And he'll tell me about some of the major musicians in that band. And so we have a good time talking baseball, listening to deep tracks on Sirius XM. We're both in our 60s, so we can remember music from the 60s and 70s. So it's a little nostalgic as we drive through the desert and the high plains, listening to rock music.
I'm not far behind you. I hit the big 5-7 last week. So, all right. For more information on the Pecos League, check out their website at pecosleague.com. And you can catch all the action this year at pecosleague.tv as well. But finally, if you're a hardcore baseball fan, you need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community. Offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom, SABR boasts more than 35 different research committees, over 80 regional chapters, and innumerable opportunities to connect with baseball minds across the world. For more information, go to sabr.org today. Evan, last wraps. Anything?
I think that's it. I'm tired of hotel rooms. I'm tired of dorm rooms. So I want to go back to my dorm room at Mid Plains Community College in North Platte, and at least that's home.
All right. In that case, we're going to let you get ready for that. For Evan Katz, I'm Bruce McClure. We'll see you next week.